Continuing our focus on the 2012 Olympic Games, we're going to talk to an Olympian and our rowing coach, Steve Peterson. Coach, you participated in the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, the first ever games for your specific event in rowing. Why don't you talk briefly about that experience?
It was amazing. I had been on the national team for 8 years, and we had never had the opportunity in our event to race at the Olympics. We had been racing at the World Championships, and so for me personally, and for all the lightweight athletes that were looking to try and have that opportunity, it was just amazing to finally get that chance. Obviously, competing at the Olympics, competing against the best, is just a great opportunity. But in our situation, they had one event that they led into the Olympics, or in two events, I should say. It would be the same as, say, in swimming, taking all the events and saying, okay, only two events we're competing in, and only one athlete from each country in each of those events is going to get to participate. So all of a sudden, you took all these great athletes from the countries and said, that's the one event. And so it really made it very intense and very competitive. It was a great opportunity. It was fun.
Speak to the level of training you had to endure in order to stay on the national team and then ultimately make the Olympic team after you graduated from college.
Obviously, training for that level takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. For us, at least in our sport, more often than not, most people are training and have full-time jobs. As you move into the Olympic year, you pretty much have to go full-time training all year long. So I mean, again, I've been training. 96 was 11 years after I graduated from college. I've been training all that time, had been competing at the elite level, and then you take it up even more to a full-time thing where you quit your job, you're training full-time, and you were pretty much working out in the neighborhood at 8 hours a day. For our sport, as an endurance-based sport, you had to do that. So,
you are on the U.S. Olympic team. What was it like, the opening ceremonies, walking not only with fellow American athletes, but great ones like Michael Johnson, that incredible 96 women's gymnastics team, the second dream team in basketball? What was it like interacting with the athletes?
It was great. I mean, people always ask what it's like being part of the Olympics. And I think, okay, taking the competitive side out of it, I think the greatest thing was just interacting with those athletes and getting to meet them. The opening ceremonies, our sport at least, I mean, to walk into a stadium and have, I don't know how many people were there, a full stadium of people screaming and yelling for you in your country was just, I'll never forget that. It was just amazing. And getting to walk around the track as you're doing that, and it was just outstanding. I think the other thing that was actually really fun was, as the host country in 96, the U.S. is the last country to walk in. And so we spent the whole time beforehand, you know, you're watching it on TV, all the other countries are walking, but we had an hour, hour and a half to waste. So that was actually a good opportunity. We walked around and got to talk and mingle with the other athletes in the U.S. And I was sitting here thinking about this. I don't know what made me think of this. Our opening ceremonies uniform was like this blue outfit, but we had white cowboy hats. And for some reason, and I don't know where I brought 4 Sharpies, black Sharpies with me. And so the thing is, like, I spent a lot of that time walking around to Michael Johnson, the Dream Team basketball people, David Robinson, Charles Barkley, even ran into George Steinbrenner and Katie Couric, and I had them all sign my hat. So I got this white cowboy hat with all these signatures that someday, you know, who knows, I'm going to sell it on Hardcore Pawn or something like that on TV for $1 million. But it was just great getting to meet all these athletes and really see that, you know what, we're all the same. They're trained just as hard and run through the same obstacles that we do.
This is a total aside, but he's my favorite all-time athlete. You got to be there for the Muhammad Ali moment. What was that like in person?
Okay, that for me, this was the funniest thing, because I was actually with Charles Barkley at that point. We were down.
Name drop.
There you go. No, and I had my hat, and he thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, Charles, can you sign my hat? And this was, what was the swimmer? I think it was Janet Evans.
Janet Evans ran up the stairs.
Ran up the stairs.
And everybody thought it was going to be Janet Evans to do it. Right.
Because we're sitting there watching going up the stairs, and then they got to the bottom of, there was a big, tall thing that went up to the cauldron. And Muhammad Ali comes out, and everybody's like, whoa, yeah. Charles Barkley's standing with my Sharpie and my white hat. And we're looking up, and he goes, don't tell me they're going to make the brother climb those stairs. And so that was the wildest thing in the world. I mean, I really wish none of us got to meet Muhammad Ali. So I think that would have been the ultimate, to be able to meet him. I know he ended up getting to meet, obviously, some of the bigger name athletes. But just that whole experience and sitting there and going, okay, I'm an Olympic athlete, was really, really exciting.
What was the night like before you actually had to compete? What kind of pressure? What was going through your mind? I mean, this is the biggest stage for your sport.
Yeah. I don't want to downplay it. I mean, obviously it was the Olympics, and that was an exciting thing. But having been on the national team and racing at the World Championships the previous 7-8 years, I kind of knew everybody I was racing against. So there was not any more pressure than I felt like at the World Championships the year or two before. And I think that comes, there's almost a comfort in that. Now, I mean, there were guys that we were focusing on that we knew from the World Cups before that were really fast. So, I mean, there was the normal pressure, but I wouldn't sit there and say there was any more. Truthfully, it was only after the first race, and we didn't do as well as we expected at the Olympics. And the first race was actually the first clue of, oops, okay, there's something we've done wrong in our training. And that's when the pressure really hit, was after that first race that we had. And we'd come in second in the race, so it wasn't like a bad result, but we expected to win the thing. And we had to come from behind to catch up to the first place crew. So that's, to me, when the pressure really sort of hit. It's like, okay, this is the Olympics. People have ramped it up a little bit more than I expected. So,
with an Olympic Games being in your home country, on some level, you didn't get the experience of maybe going overseas and experiencing a different culture, but you were home, so I would imagine you had a lot of family and friends there, and that had to be gratifying.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have traded that for anything. I mean, going wherever, country-wise. I think having in your home country, host country, is the best experience you could ever ask. Again, yeah, family, friends, I mean, tons of support. And then everywhere you walked around, because you're wearing the USA stuff, anybody you saw wanted your autograph. And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, you don't even know who I am. And so that was actually pretty special. I mean, as a sport that not a lot of people know about, you don't get those opportunities. And that alone was just amazing.